All right, welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're keeping Thai seal birds, you already know the drill. Extreme summer heat is literally their absolute biggest enemy. Today, we're diving straight into a highly structured, super detailed seasonal care manual. We're not just talking about surviving the scorching dry heat. We want these magnificent birds to actually thrive all the way through to the humid monsoon season. Let's get right into it. So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll look at the specific problems birds face in the heat. Then, the best diet for June and July, followed by evening diets and salads. After that, we'll cover dietary changes for the monsoon season, water and essential medicines, and wrap up with precautions and disease prevention. Okay, kicking things off with Section 1, the specific problems our birds face in the summer heat. Have you actually stopped to wonder why exactly your birds get so sluggish when the temperature spikes? I mean, it's easy to just say, well, it's hot out, but their internal systems are really struggling to regulate temperature, and that takes a massive physiological toll on them. It's basically a domino effect. The heat hits, and suddenly you're dealing with a severely reduced appetite. Because they stop eating, that heavy lethargy and sluggishness set in, and before you know it, bam, significant weight loss. They completely lose the ability to maintain that prized physique. If you're going through this right now, trust me, your struggle is 100% valid. But that's exactly what this manual is here to fix. Moving right along to Section 2, dialing in the absolute best diet for the peak dry heat of June and July. Now, this daily morning routine is pretty much the foundation of your summer care. It's a simple 3-step process. Step 1, take your grains. We're talking millet, wheat, and mustard, and wash them really well with clean water. Step 2 is where the magic actually happens. You soak those grains overnight, making sure the water is about 2 to 3 inches above the grains so they have plenty of room to expand. And step 3, just feed those nice softened grains to your birds first thing in the morning. So why is this soak so absolutely crucial? Well, soaking overnight actually pulls the excess internal heat, what we call tasir, right out of the grain. Dry grains naturally generate heat during digestion, which is literally the last thing your bird needs in July. Plus, it makes the food incredibly soft and easy to digest, saving the bird precious energy. It totally bypasses that heat-induced loss of appetite, so they actually eat eagerly and keep their weight up. All right, Section 3. Let's talk about the evening diet and putting together the right salad. Summer feeding is kind of a game of two halves. You've got your morning dedicated to those soaked grains for energy. But as that afternoon heat really starts compounding into the evening, you completely shift gears. You transition to high-water, cooling foods like cucumber, tomato, banana, and soaked roti. You're basically acting as their thermostat, managing their internal temperature through this exact schedule. Think of it like building the ultimate cooling salad. Bananas are fantastic because they have naturally cooling properties, and honestly, the birds just love them. Cucumbers and tomatoes, those are essentially little water delivery systems packed with nutrients, and tossing in occasional small pieces of ginger is a great move to aid digestion without overwhelming their system. It's totally designed to bring that core body temperature down before nightfall. Now, here's a curveball. We usually think, hey, all vegetables are great, right? Actually, scratch that. The source material explicitly warns us to limit green leafy vegetables during peak heat. Why? Because too many greens cause the birds to drink way too much water, which leads to digestive flushing. In this specific climate, overhydration from leafy greens actually backfires on you. It's a super counterintuitive, but absolutely brilliant insight. To fight off that heat-induced loss of appetite, variety is your best friend. You've got your morning grains and evening fruit salad combo, but if your bird starts getting bored, you need to pivot. Try alternating your soaked grains with a meal of dry roti soaked in water for just an hour, or even some plain boiled rice. The whole point here is to mix things up so they eat at least one full, satisfying meal a day. That is how you stop the weight loss. Okay, Section 4, dietary changes for the monsoon. Things are about to get really humid. When the Sawan, or monsoon season hits, you have to aggressively change your tactics. You need to cut out wheat, mustard, and any heavy foods like ghee or butter. The humidity just makes them way too hard for the bird to safely digest. Instead, you're swapping those out for soaked bajra, which is millet, and introducing roti that's been soaked in yogurt. You are shifting from a hydration-focused diet straight into a digestion-focused one. Under this new monsoon routine, your mornings are all about that yogurt-soaked roti, which is packed with amazing probiotics for their gut. Then at night, you stick to the soaked bajra. But listen, diet alone won't cut it anymore. You absolutely must ensure excellent environmental ventilation. The stagnant, humid air of the monsoon, the Hobbs, is literally a breeding ground for rapid disease. Your lighter diet has to work hand in hand with high airflow. Moving into Section 5, Water and Essential Medicines. The big takeaway from the source text here is all about restraint. Yes, for sure, keep fresh water available 24/7, but they heavily advise against constantly spiking it with unnecessary multivitamins or allopathic medicines just because it's hot out. Over-medicating the water supply just puts extra stress on the bird's internal organs right when they're already working in overdrive to stay cool. Instead of throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks, target your care. Only intervene when you actually see symptoms. If the bird needs liver support, give them an appropriate liver tonic just 2 to 3 times a week. Dealing with digestion issues or phlegm, then you can mix something specific, like Dudsia syrup, into their water. It's all about precise, necessary care, not random guesswork. And finally, Section 6, Precautions and Disease Prevention. So the manual notes a really interesting technique used by some enthusiasts during the extreme heat of June and July. Some folks administer half a disprin or aspirin every 10 days. The idea here is to help maintain steady blood flow, especially since intense heat can thicken the blood and really stress out their cardiovascular system. But I need to pause here and highlight a massive, explicit warning from the text. It literally says, use this medicine only with a certified vet's advice. This is definitely not a casual recommendation, guys. Aspirin isn't suitable for all birds, and it can actually be dangerous depending on the individual bird's health. We're just explaining what's in the guide, but the golden rule is always consult a professional before giving human-grade meds to your animals. And look, no matter how perfectly you soak those grains, and no matter how well you ventilate during the monsoon, you absolutely cannot neglect timely vaccinations. Diet and environment help manage the seasonal symptoms, but vaccinations, they build the core foundational immunity. It is your ultimate, non-negotiable shield against seasonal diseases for your Thai seal. So let's wrap this up with a question for you. By mastering the science of soaking grains to pull out that internal heat, and by nailing that tricky pivot from dry June heat to thick monsoon humidity, you now have the exact blueprint. Is your daily routine ready to keep your birds not just surviving, but actually thriving all summer long? Armed with this explainer, you've definitely got the knowledge to make it happen. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next one.